That morning, Zhang Linghe's management studio was filled with boisterous. The phone rang almost non-stop, and on the desk of his manager, Chen Jie, was an elegant gold-colored invitation. The logo of the famous TV show, Star Harmony Night, is imprinted in silver ink that sparkles in the light of the sun. Chen Jie looked at Linghe, who was sitting on the sofa, wearing a black hoodie and grey training pants. His face was still a little sleepy, his hair disheveled. "Special invitation," Chen Jie said, raising an eyebrow. "Big TV show next week. They asked you to come. And," he paused for a moment to hold back a smile, "the display partner is Zhao Jinmai." Linghe, who had been looking blankly, immediately looked up. "What? Same Jinmai?" His tone was half incredulous. "Yes. They said you were a good match, especially since there were a lot of rumors about your closeness after yesterday's drama." Chen Jie handed over the invitation. "Want to accept?" Linghe stared at the golden invitation for a long time. He imagined Jinmai's face, her gentle smile, her sincere gaze, and how the world seemed to get warmer as they spoke. "We accept," he replied at last, but in his heart had already begun to pound with anticipation. Emotionally draining preparations. The days leading up to the event were filled with costume fitting, blocking rehearsals, and short interview sessions. Linghe chose a navy blue suit with a classic cut, while Jinmai looked stunning in a simple but elegant white satin dress. When they met in the training room, the two smiled at each other, but their gazes contained a meaning that not everyone understood. There is a sense of comfort, but also a deliberately kept distance. "I heard you've been busy lately," Jinmai said as she brushed her hair in front of the mirror. "Yes, but this event will be a highlight this week," Linghe replied with a quick glance. "I'm glad we can play together again." Outside the room, several TV crews watched their interactions. Gossip began to circulate, about Linghe's gaze lasting too long, about the way Jinmai chuckled as he spoke. But what they don't know, those feelings have been growing for a long time, even though the two never dared to confess. A night to wait. D-Day is coming. Spotlights adorn the red carpet. The celebrities walked while waving to fans and journalists. When Linghe and Jinmai appeared together, camera flashes instantly flooded over them. Linghe, with his firm posture, walked half a step ahead, but occasionally turned his head to make sure Jinmai wasn't left behind. On the other hand, Jinmai stepped gracefully, his smile like a magnet attracting everyone's attention. After the photo session, they were guided into the VIP lounge. There, the atmosphere is relaxed but full of expectations. The crew gave directions, and the artists joked with each other to reduce tension. However, the moment of calm did not last long. A senior female artist, Jinmai's close friend, came over. "Jinmai!" he cried while hugging. Then, in front of the camera, he invited Jinmai to pose by forming a sign of love with their hands. Linghe, who was standing a few steps away, froze for a moment. His smile remained, but his eyes dimmed slightly. Unexpected jealousy. For others, it was just a sweet gesture between two fellow artists. But to Linghe, who harbored deep feelings for Jinmai, the sight was piercing. He tried to take his eyes off, sipping mineral water on the table. But every time he heard Jinmai laugh with the woman, his chest felt tight. Jinmai, who was sensitive to changes in his expression, glanced occasionally. "You okay?" he asked quietly as the woman left. Linghe smiled faintly. "Yes, just a little tired." But in his heart, he knew it wasn't fatigue he was feeling. It was jealousy, a feeling he tried to hide but found difficult to control. Behind the stage, the event was lively. Linghe and Jinmai performed in the interactive game segment, throwing jokes at each other, making the audience laugh. From the outside, they look like the perfect couple. But behind the stage, the atmosphere is a little stiff. Linghe sat on the sofa while checking his phone, pretending to be busy. Jinmai, feeling some distance, finally sat down next to him. "You're angry?" he asked directly. "Why should I be angry?" Linghe raised an eyebrow, but his tone was flat. Jinmai smiled faintly. "You're always like this if something bothers you." He looked into Linghe's eyes, trying to find an answer. Is it because I fell in love with him? Linghe fell silent. Silence is confession, revealing conversations. After their segment was over, the two had a break in the makeup room. There are only the two of them and the soft sound of music from a small speaker. If I'm honest, yes, Linghe said slowly. I don't like seeing you like that with other people, especially in front of the camera. Jinmai sighed. That's just a joke, Linghe. There is no other meaning. I know, he replied, looking down. But I still can't ignore this feeling. The atmosphere became quiet. Only the ticking of a wall clock was heard. Jinmai then touched his hand. I don't want you to feel that way. But you also need to remember. We haven't. We haven't what? Cut Linghe off, his eyes staring expectantly. We have not defined this relationship, Jinmai replied softly. Honesty on a busy night. The show ended late at night. When all the artists went home, Linghe offered to drive Jinmai. Inside the car, the atmosphere was still tense but warmer. I just want you to know, Linghe said as he held the steering wheel, that I really am, like you, not just as a co-worker. Jinmai was silent, his eyes looking out the window at the glowing lights of the city. I like you too, Linghe. But we have to be careful. The world is not always kind to two people who like each other in public. Linghe nodded. Then let's take it slow. But promise me one thing. Don't make me jealous anymore. Jinmai chuckled, nodding as he looked at her. Okay, but you also have to promise to trust me. Hanging cover. A few days later, their portrait on the TV show went viral on social media. Netizens debated their chemistry, while others speculated about Linghe's expression when Jinmai posed in love with another woman. For both of them, it was just one chapter in a long story. They now know that jealousy is part of belonging, and that belonging is born of affection. Linghe sat in his living room that night, looking at the incoming message notification. From Jinmai. Thank you for driving me that night. I'm glad we spoke the truth. He smiled, typing a short reply. Me too. And I promise. I will always trust you. City lights flicker in the distance. Maybe the outside world doesn't need to know everything, but they do know exactly what's growing between them.